These notes are titled Solve a Polynomial Equation. So these are the steps that we continue to use. Set it to 0, factored form, then set each factor to 0 because of the zero product property, and then solve the little factor equations. The methods that you can use to get it to factored form are GCF or x when it's in x squared plus bx plus c, where you have to look for the factor pair of c that adds to the b. So let's start number 1. X squared plus 8x plus 12. It is set to 0. First step, done. It's not in factored form. Always double check if you can do GCF first. Do all 3 terms over here have something in common? The answer is no. All 3 of them do not have an x, and they don't have any numbers in common, so you have to resort to that other method of factoring. So what 2 factors of 12 add up to 8? So think about that a little bit, and if you need to do your factor pairs off to the side, then you do that. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. Which factor pair of 12 adds 2 and 8? Well, it's this one right here, 2 and 6. So that trinomial factors to x plus 2 times x plus 6. Now that it's in factored form, I can set each factor, because it's something times something equals 0, so that means one or both of those factors could equal 0 to make the whole equation equal 0. X plus 2 could equal 0, x plus 6 could equal 0. You solve those little equations. I'm going to subtract 2, x equals negative 2. Subtract 6, x equals negative 6. Those are your 2 solutions. And if you don't believe me, we could check. So if my equation was x squared plus 8x plus 12, and I'm trying to see how can that left-hand side equal a 0, I could put either one of these numbers in and they should both work. Negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2 add 12. Let's see if that, in fact, adds up to 0. Negative 2 squared is a positive 4. 8 times negative 2 is a negative 16. Add 12. 4 take away 16 is negative 12. Negative 12 add 12 equals 0. Check. Negative 2 works. Will I have enough room? Negative 6 squared plus 8 times negative 6 plus 12. Negative 6 squared is a positive 36. 8 times negative 6 is a negative 48. 36 and a negative 48 is a negative 12, and negative 12 adds 12 also equals 0. That's why both of those answers end up working. So let's do number 2 and 3. Number 2, is our equation set equal to 0? Yes. Now I have to get it to factored form. Do they have a GCF? Anything in common? No. So we have to find the factor pair of negative 48 that adds to the negative 2. 1 times 48, 2 times 24, 3 times 16, 4 times 12, 6 times 8. 6 times 8 is going to be my winner because they are 2 apart. Which one's going to be negative? To get a negative 2, the bigger number has to be negative. So my 2 factor pairs are x plus 6 times x minus 8. Now it's set equal to 0 in factored form. I take both of those factors and set them equal to 0, and I get 2 solutions. Number 3. I have x squared, here let's box that off so it's not in the way. X squared plus 8x equals 20. Is it set equal to 0? Blah, 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 equal sign 20. It's not set equal to 0. So we have to subtract 20 to both sides. And I get x squared plus 8x minus 20 equals 0. Think about it. What 2 factors of negative 20 add to a positive 8? The answer, x plus 10 times x minus 2. 10 times negative 2 gives me negative 20, and 10 plus a negative 2 gives me a positive 8. Now that it's in factored form, I take the two factors and set them equal to 0 to get my two solutions. X equals negative 10, x equals a positive 2. 2 minus 2 is what would equal 0. Number 4, find the x-intercepts. Your x-intercepts are when y equals 0. On this graph, the y value is 0 is on these two spots, right here and here. There are no numbers on this graph, so I have to resort to some algebra. I'm putting the 0 in for y because the x-intercepts are when y is 0. And now it's in a polynomial equation set to 0. It's not in factored form. What two factors of negative 12 add up to a negative 4? Well, I need an x and an x to make that x squared. It's going to be negative 6 and a positive 2. Negative 6 and positive 2 multiply to negative 12. Negative 6 plus 2 adds up to negative 4. X minus 6 equals 0. X plus 2 equals 0. X equals 6. X equals negative 2. So that means this is 6, 0. X is 6 when the y value is 0. And x equals negative 2 when the y value is a 0. Those are your two x-intercepts. Number 5 is a review problem. Is your equation set equal to 0? No. So I'm going to subtract x to both sides so that I have a 0 on that right-hand side. X minus x is 0. Over here, this is x squared minus x. They are not like terms, so I write it like that. Now this one is not a trinomial, but you always want to check, do they have a greatest common factor? And in this case, they do. They both have an x. So I'm going to factor out the x from both of those terms. This line and the next line should always be equivalent. So x distributed to what gave us that original x squared? X. And then x distributed to what number gave us a minus x? A minus 1. Now I set these two factors equal to 0. X equals 0, no solving there, you're done. X minus 1 could equal 0, therefore x could equal 1. You could check your answer up here. Is that true? Is 0 squared equal to a 0? And is 1 squared equal to a 1? It is. Those are your two values where the x squared equals the x. A number squared equals itself. Interesting. So CPs, you're done. Honors only, number 6. Solve this equation. Always check for a GCF first. We'll first check to make sure it's set equal to 0. We do have the 0, so we are good. Is there a GCF? The answer is yes. They all have something in common. They actually all have an x. I see an x, an x, an x. And 10, 40, and 30 have a common factor of, that's right, 10. Oh my goodness. 10x goes on the outside. Almost like undistribute the 10x from each term. And I'd be left with x squared plus 4x plus 3. Now I have a trinomial. You need to see if this can be factored. And it can. What two numbers or factors of 3 add up to a 4? Well, 3 only has one factor pair. 1 times 3. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. The factors for this problem are 10x, x plus 1, there's another factor, and x plus 3. 3 factors. Has 3 factors, and even if you multiply 3 numbers, if its product is 0, one of them could be 0, or all of them could be 0. So we set all 3 factors to 0 to get 3 different solutions. X could equal 0, x could equal -1, or x could equal -3. 3 solutions. Good job today, guys. Keep up the good work. We appreciate it.